And actually, I wanted to get to another caller because, one, he's calling from long distance, and two, I wanted to make sure we had plenty of opportunity to talk to Jason Theriot, a local author who is or was in Normandy, France yesterday for the D-Day celebration. And Jason, you're not only here on Kane, but of course you're also with our sister stations, KLRZ and KLEB. Thanks so much for giving us a call.
Bonjour, Monsieur Boggs.
Bonjour, indeed. First of all, tell us, for our new listeners in La Rose and the Houma Thibodaux area, what was the purpose of your visit to Normandy?
Jeff, thank you for having me on. I'm looking out of my window here at the Holiday Inn Hotel in downtown Paris. It's absolutely beautiful, breathtaking. I'm in Paris here after several days of traveling with a group from the Stephen Ambrose Historical Tours out of New Orleans. And the purpose of our trip, obviously, was to go and commemorate and to celebrate and to salute the men who landed at Normandy beaches on June 6, 1944, just short of 60 years ago yesterday. And there's a gentleman, a young man, an Iberian, a Cajun soldier, named Private First Class Houston D. Douillon, who was killed at Omaha Beach on June 6, 1944. He's buried right there at St. Laurent, France, and had a wonderful opportunity to see his gravesite. But more importantly, Jeff, and more fitting, I guess is the word to say, the group that I'm traveling with was with the 197th Anti-Aircraft Battalion, and Houston Douillon's unit was the 397th Anti-Aircraft Battalion. Those two units landed at Easy Red Section on Omaha Beach at 7 a.m. on June 6th, side by side. They landed within a few kilometers of each other, and the resident expert on Omaha Beach who's traveling with us, his name is Albert Spoonheimer. We refer to him as Spoonie. He won't be called by anything else.
Okay.
A wonderful guy. He's been telling stories nonstop ever since we've left from London a few days ago. Spoonie was the head medic on that particular sector. And when, and as I told you and your listeners a week ago today, Jeff, when Houston Douillon jumped off of the Higgins boat right next to Carol Medier from Lowerville, the two Cajun soldiers with the 397th, Houston was struck by enemy fire by a bullet in the neck, and he fell over, and more than likely he was probably killed instantly. But undoubtedly, there's a very good chance that Mr. Albert Spoonheimer, Spoonie as we refer to him, was the head medic on that section, and he more than likely probably saw Houston Douillon. And yesterday on MSNBC, Spoonie was on camera giving an interview with a reporter, and this is what I didn't know until he said this yesterday, that most of his unit, this is Albert Spoonheimer, the 197th, most of his unit made it through without any heavy casualties, but he says on camera that the 397th suffered 80% casualties within the first 20 minutes.
Wow.
And those were the guys that he was treating. And those were the guys who died in his arms.
No doubt. Compelling stuff. I can't even imagine the experience there, just being there for the Normandy experience. Tell me, did the death or word of the death of President Reagan, how did that affect the ceremonies?
It was somewhat chilling, Jeff. We didn't find out until we got on our tour bus on June 6th, the early morning of June 6th, and it brought a somber tone to the excitement and the anticipation of what was getting ready to happen. We were going down to the St. Laurent Cemetery, the main cemetery up there at Omaha Beach, where there's 9,000 soldiers, American soldiers, who were killed on D-Day and within a few days of that historical event. And I tell you what, I was maybe just a little too young to remember President Reagan's speech about the boys from Point to Hawk, but Captain Ron Dres, who was our tour guide, says that particular speech that Reagan gave and I want to say during the 40th anniversary of D-Day, about the boys from Point to Hawk. That particular speech is what really began the awareness across the nation about the D-Day events and about the heroes who made the invasion, those who survived, and of course those who paid the ultimate sacrifice. And during that 40th anniversary up until now, we can look at President Reagan's speech, former President Reagan's speech, as maybe the defining moment of the beginnings of what we know as the celebration of the D-Day soldiers and the awareness and the collection of beginning of the collecting of oral histories of those men who landed at D-Day, June 6th.
Okay, well, I definitely appreciate you giving us a call. I know it was not easy necessarily making sure you would be at a phone while we were on the air, but I appreciate you making the extra effort. And again, we want to remind folks that Jason has written a couple of books on Bayou veterans of World War II, and we look forward to the third. And I know you've got a couple of local appearances coming up. Do you know them offhand?
Yeah, Jeff. But before I even speak about that, let me just, while I've got just a few more minutes here, I just arrived at this hotel here about an hour ago.
Okay.
Jeff, if you wouldn't mind.
Please, go ahead.
When I found Private First Class Houston Dion's gravesite, of course I was completely taken aback by emotions that I can't explain to you over the air. It's an unbelievable sight to see those 9,000 marble grave tombs. It's really unbelievable. And when I spoke to you a week ago, Jeff, I was a very proud American, a patriot. I'm very proud to be doing what I'm doing and thankful for those veterans. But when I walk through those rows and those grave sites and I see the price of freedom, the sacrifice of freedom, it gives me a completely and totally different perspective on life and on freedom and on democracy and on how important it is that we preserve these stories and honor these men at every given moment.
No doubt.
There were literally thousands of D-Day veterans there, Jeff, and as I kneeled down at Houston Dion's gravesite, ironically, and I guess maybe the word is fittingly, off to my right, about 50 yards away, Albert Spoonheimer, the head medic of the 197th, who was there on Easy Red, is sitting in a chair next to Captain Ron Drez, and they're live on Fox News, giving an interview. And in the background, I'm standing there next to this man's gravesite. Once the interview was done, Captain Drez and Albert Spoonheimer, Spoonie we'll call him, he and I and Captain Drez, we walked over to Houston's gravesite. There was a roof that was laid just a few yards away, and we found 3 young 18-year-old United States Army soldiers who were there just to pay their respects. And the group of us went, and we had a brief little ceremony at Houston's gravesite. And it was unbelievable. Unbelievable, Jeff. It really was.
Jason, I appreciate you sharing these stories with us. We'll look forward to getting you back on again sometime when you get back here in the States.
Thank you, Jeff, for having me on. Hello to everybody in Acadiana, and you folks take care.
Take care, sir.
Thank you, Jeff.
Jason Theriot, as he calls us live from Paris, France, having just been in Normandy for the 60th anniversary of D-Day. Compelling stuff indeed.